Hey guys, Andy at Spoken Label back in the house Monday afternoon. Yeah, not Sunday, a Monday. Yeah, and this is going to be a good podcast today. I've been looking forward to this for a couple of weeks. As people all notice on either Instagram or YouTube, I've not got one, I've not got two, I've got three guests of me today. Yes, and they're all linked together, and we will explain why in a minute. I'm going to do it as a round robin, so I'm going to let the three of them introduce themselves and we'll then talk further. Anthony, we'll start off with you, my friend, since you contacted me originally over this. Tell people, obviously, who you are, a little bit about yourself, but don't give tons away.
Sure. Well, first of all, thanks a lot for agreeing to have us on. It's great to be here. My name's Anthony Doyle. I'm Irish, but I live in Brazil, where I work as a translator. I'm also a poet and a novelist, and children's books as well.
Man of many talents there. I've seen that already from you, from reading up on you. Ellis, we'll go to you next then.
Well, first, again, thank you so much, Andy, for having us here today. And I live in Florida, USA, where it's nice and hot and steamy right now. And I am a poet but a dance teacher by vocation. And I have a blended family with 6 sons.
Wow. You got your hands full there straight away with that then.
They're grown, thank goodness. They're all out of the nest, and so I can talk about it all day long. Yeah.
Well, have you got any grandchildren yet, have you then? Or
No, oh no, it's the worst. And they're all plenty old enough to have them. They should have them by now, but
yeah.
oh,
Well, hopefully in the future for yourself, Alice, you'll be able to have them and do what we're doing now to my wife's younger sister. She's got a child and a half on the way, and you can wind up the children and pass them back, right? Fingers crossed for you,
I
definitely.
can't wait. Thank you.
Okay, Robert, over to you, my friend. Lastly, of course, last certainly not least, tell us a little bit about yourself, mate.
Good morning. I'm Robert Fleming, a visual poet from Lewis, Delaware, United States. I was originally born in Montreal, Quebec, Canada. I immigrated to United States in 1980 to go to school and remained in the United States. My first big, I'd say, win was in college. I was on the college newspaper, and I wrote a newspaper article about a Duran Duran concert, which was outrageous and won a national United States Journalism Award.
That's one way. It's one way to start your career off. That definitely would. So Sam Le Bon and his crew have proven a big influence there. Excellent, mate, indeed. So now, if people are wondering today, obviously, these three very diverse people and characters all have something in common. Now, when Anthony got in touch with me, he was telling me about a press that all three of you are involved with called Old Scratch Press. Now, I'll read out what little bit of information I've got, and then I don't know who's going to tell me the rest of the story behind this, but people are wondering, obviously, founded in 2023, Old Scratch Press is a cooperative of poets and short-form writers who have come together to promote the publication and appreciation of poetry and short-form writing. Now, I'm going to let you three decide now. We can have an online punch-up. Where did Old Scratch Press come from?
Well, Robert's really our main spokesman, so I think we'll leave it to Robert to explain how it came about.
Okay, I'd love to do that. Old Scratch Press is affiliated with another press called Devil's Party Press, which has a digital magazine called Instant Noodles, and also every year publishes 3 or 4 anthologies. The editor-in-chief, Diane Pierce, had a maternal loving instinct to want to give short-form writers the opportunity to publish a book. And she offered writers of Devil's Party Press who had been repeat contributors the offer to create a press to publish short forms. And it is through the love of Diane and her instinct to have a new legacy for herself and for us that Old Scratch Press was born.
Brilliant. Thanks for that, Robert. But where did the name Old Scratch Press come from then?
And that was my fault, actually.
There's always one.
Because the press is called Devil's Party Press, and I don't know where you in England you call the devil Old Scratch too, don't you? So,
yeah, I've heard that saying before. Definitely, yes.
so I suggested that one, and it floated, so it ended up Old Scratch Press.
Yeah, I like it definitely with that. So now, okay, I'll go on to you, note, Ellison. How did you come involved in this press?
I also was involved with Diane. I love how Robert emphasized her nurturing maternal instinct with all of us budding writers. It's so true. I'd actually contacted her about her editing that she does, and she learned that I would just finished grad school and was working on my poetry collection and so on. And she said, come, would you be interested in joining this group that I'm bringing together? And of course, I said yes, and that's how we came together. That's how I got involved.
Reading, obviously, I've read all three of your books you've passed over to me, and it's, like I said, off camera already, three incredibly diverse books and all really, really good as well. So, Robert, so obviously, back to you in the next question on this one, that being the case then. Obviously, I know there's quite a few members, obviously, on Old Scratch Press. Tell us about then how the books are all sorted out. Do you have lots of meetings to decide books, Stu, or is it all dumped on your shoulders?
Well, because we are a collective, we favor fairness, and we chose to first have each collective member have the ability to have a book published. And to be fair, we used a random number generator to select the order of the books. Ooh. And the number of the books that we publish each year again was decided by the publishers of Devil's Party Press, Diane and David, because they had offered to do for the writer a free creation of the book and production. David Jovanovich, who is Diane's husband, is a very skilled book designer and producer. So we went with his availability for our group, which is about 3 to 4 books a year.
Yeah, if people obviously look on the website, I've seen how many founding members there is, and you think straight away with that, there's 12 founding members there. That straight away is enough, like I said, for a first couple of years of the press straight away if you're going down the 3 or 4 book route straight away. So, Anthony, how did you become involved with this press as well then?
Well, I published my novel through Out of This World Press, which is the science fiction imprint of Devil's Party Press, which is Diane and David's publishing house.
Ah, right.
It's the same, same company.
Yeah, I get you that. So yeah, brilliant. Yeah,
and I was also contributing to the anthologies. I published some poems in the anthology, so that she invited me along with the others as well to join.
Brilliant. No, great stuff. Now, people wondering today, obviously, there is a number of other writers on, not listed, obviously, not with us today, because if we had all 12 of you in today, we'd be at midnight in UK time. So I'm going to have to ask Robert the next question again, but we're going to work round on people's books in a few moments. Obviously, we're having 12 writers on your roster. Is it? Do you think is it quite tricky to keep everybody happy? It's not. I don't use the words happy. To keep everybody in communication all the time, isn't it? Because there's a lot of work that straight away.
Well, one of the goals of the press is to be a collective. Most of the decisions that we have for the press are made by a democratic process. Um, we generated several options for the name and then voted on the name. We did the same thing with the logo for the press. And we also meet once a month to discuss the status of the new books, what members can do to help the other members. So far, we only had one conflict. We had originally agreed that the maximum page length for a book was going to be, I believe, 50 pages. And one of the authors went beyond it, and we were able to resolve that and remain together as a group. One of the guidelines that Diane had given us is she said that when writers who are in a group give each other content feedback, it can create conflict between the writers. And Diane asked us at the beginning, because we were all established writers, to not give each other content feedback, but do proofreading for each other. And that has been one of the ways we have avoided conflict and encouraged unity.
Yeah, really good idea. That straight away. I was wondering. I was trying to understand the dynamics of this. Obviously, we've been so many people involved in the collective of that. Now that works really, really well. That was a great idea to Diane there straight away. So, right, I want to talk about the 3 books, obviously, that I've read here. Even though I think Anthony's isn't technically on the press, but it still counts to me. It's near enough. And we can look what book you've got coming up, Anthony, in a few moments. I want to start with your book, Ellis, if you don't mind, first of all, because you're obviously your poetry book itself, Breaking the Field, which I've said for I was really, really quite touched in this book straight away, and it was a beautiful, beautiful book. So, and it's interesting really because your tone of it, your writing was completely different, both Robert's and Anthony's. So, tell us first of all then about Breaking the Field and where this book came from.
Okay, thank you for letting me talk about it. I 14 years ago, I remarried a man that was a widow with 3 sons, and one of the sons was profoundly disabled. His name is Julian, and he cannot walk, talk, or feed himself. So that was a huge life change. Beyond adding 3 more sons and remarrying, I had a whole very steep learning curve of the special needs community, and then a relationship with Julian himself. And it sort of blew my mind in ways that only writing could process for me, and sort of ways to untangle all the many different things going through my head. And writing was the way that I found to understand him, to understand myself better. So about 8 years into the marriage, I went back to grad school and in a creative writing program. And by that time, I already had a lot of writing poetry about Julian. And so just continued that, used what I was learning, and stayed on that thread. And that's sort of how that's the origin of that book.
Brilliant. Now, It's one nature of the beast, you know, in a podcast like this. We could talk to all three of you briefly about your books. I could have spent probably about an hour in each one of these books. But I've just got a couple of quick questions I want to ask each one of you about the books, okay? I know in your case, Alice, is it true that English is not your first language, did I read somewhere?
Oh, yes, it is. It is. You must be thinking of Mr. Fleming.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think I
okay.
was, yeah. That's what I thought. That's I read that. I thought, oh, well, that's interesting. I thought, yeah, so work it like it's when you're writing such a detailed book like that with English not your first language, I think it's even more twice as much challenge. Oh, excellent. Now, a couple of quick questions I want to ask you, just going to touch on one or two of the poems, and also briefly as well. But what made you want to put the book in three separate sections, first of all?
Well, I felt like I needed the subject matter itself. My intention was not to be hallmarky, lighthearted, sentimental. It's very easy when you address the special needs community, especially as parents or family, or someone just looking from afar, to make it sort of blurry and romanticized. And I wanted to give the true nitty gritty, and the true nitty gritty can take you down under the surface. And so I thought I would make a little break in there of a lot of the Julian poems, and then have a break in the middle. And since the name of the book is Break in the Field, which refers to a quote from a book about the history of disability, which talks about what happens when there's a break in the field of perception of the way you see the world. And so, of course, having Julian as a child was one, but also everyone has different experiences, whether it's a life change, a divorce, a death, anything like that. So I kind of, and not all that negative or profound, I guess, but in the middle, I sort of changed it and threw in a few that were related to COVID and to my other children and to my dance teaching, so that everybody could take a collective breath, and then put the third part ending again with Julian.
Perfect. Yeah, that's what I thought this was. That's I thought they're actually heading with it. The last question I will touch on what your book is. I did find it interesting. The further the book went along, you started getting a bit more. The early poems are great. The full book's brilliant. I loved it when you caught me out about halfway through the book when you started putting some more experimental pieces in, like Afterwards and Sent of a Julian. And was this a conscious decision to start bringing some more experimental pieces into it the further the book went along?
Um, that's a great question. I wish I could say that was, intentional, but I do love experimenting with all the different forms, and those, it was probably more through the content than the form itself that it ended up where it was in the collection, in
Yeah,
the series. So
perfect. That's fine to me. So, no, like I said, everybody, it's a great book. Really check it out.
thank you so much.
Right, we're now going to move on to Robert's book now, White Noir. Now, this one caught me out. This book it wasn't what I was expecting, but I like challenges, and I like books that are experimental. So obviously, Robert, I know there's quite a story. I could spend the full episode talking to you about your book as well. So first of all, then tell us about where the origins of White Noir came from.
The first one came from being a bilingual speaker. My first language was French, and I became bilingual in English. So it was very appealing to have a title where one word is in French and one word is in English. Uh, the other one is that I'm an alternative writer, so I'm always observing what is the norm. You know, when I look at the blank paper page or computer screen, the background typically is white. So I asked myself, what would I do as an alternative? And so that's why I selected the background pages for my book to be black and the text to be white.
Right, yes. That explains why with that. 'Cause I was wondering, I thought, and there did be some sort of meaning behind it straight away. Now, the second question I want to ask you, I've got a couple of each of you, like I said, is what was the decision with the book? Say, for example, on page 14, when you start off with a blank page in black, and obviously then on page 15, when you do a blanc noir, which this is my colour blindness kicks in now. I think it's white, a couple of shades of grey, and black. And you finish off the book with that as well. What was the decision to do that as the beginning and the start of the book?
I wanted to give the reader the experience of a journey.
Yeah.
And so I wanted them to start off with a white page and a black page, and then have a visual graphic of the transition between white and black. So that was my motivation. The beginning images of the book also are imagining about the birth, the creation of the first human. So again, it's a journey from the start.
Perfect.
So again, it was all about a journey.
Yeah, I've got that straight enough. Fantastic idea indeed. Now, I could ask you loads of questions about various pages on this because people are wondering, obviously, there's a lot of images mixed with words on this. I'm just going to concentrate on a couple of them, if you don't mind, on that. If you don't mind, actually, because I loved the image, for example, on page 22 about Dorothy from The Wizard of Oz with the subtext of the weather give them a city. Now, that I think is a great example of this book. So tell us about then how you actually created some of these images and the journey of it from the beginning to end.
Well, the character of Dorothy from created by Frank L. Baum has been adopted by the GLBT community as a great image of hope and survival. And the journey of the immigrant from Europe to America was also a journey of hope. And most early Americans who came from Europe were required to go through immigration at Ellis Island, which is an island right off of Manhattan in New York. So I made the connection that Dorothy would have the insight that the wizard in The Wizard of Oz, who was all powerful, would bring the opportunity of hope for immigrants.
Yeah, no, brilliant. No, I agree with you completely with that. So I understand that one completely. Now, the other one I want to talk about, as I said, there's a lot on this book. I loved as well the one that came along a few pages later, which page 27 about the Three Stooges. And I loved the way he did that with like put down Larry, a little bit about Larry, a 3-line poem, a little bit about Mo, 3 lines, and 3 little lines about Curly. So tell us about then where your love, I presume it's a love of the Three Stooges came from.
Well, the reason why I included this image in the book as well as 2 others is to give the reader a break. I deal with a lot of taboo topics, and some of them are very harsh to deal with. So it's like giving the reader a break and a breath. And that's why I included this for some light humor.
Yeah, no, it does. It's got that slightness of touch in it straight away. And I thought, yeah, excellent idea indeed, mate. So, right, well, that's all my questions from your book, Robert. I want to move on to Anthony's now. Now, obviously, Anthony, your novel, which you sent across to me, isn't unfortunately actually with the press, but I want to talk about it. Obviously, it's with the supplement press, and then give people some ideas of what your collection, I'm guessing, will be like through this. Now, I want to learn first of all about your novel, and I'm going to you're going to have to give me the pronunciation on this. Is it hibernaclation? Is that right, or am I completely out?
Hibernaculum.
Nowhere near. That's fair enough. Yeah, I'm not the scientist. I'm the dreamer. So, but obviously, I want to learn first of all. Then, obviously, where the idea for this book came from in the first place.
Yeah, it was a few years ago. I had pneumonia,
Mm.
and when I get sick, I have this. I don't know. Maybe it's a gene somewhere, but I kind of shut down. I sleep. You could shoot me, and I would try to sleep it off. So I spent days sleeping. I actually ended up in hospital for a few more days after that. But when I came out, I had this sort of sensation, almost like I was coming out of hibernation. It was like, wow, I was looking at everything and it was, new and fresh. And I was really enthusiastic about getting back into work, into life in general. And there was a strange sensation of lost time almost, because there were days that just went by in a haze, remembered nothing. So this is where I kind of got the idea of, wow, maybe everybody should hibernate a little every now and then. Yeah, it's because it seemed to do good. I felt good. And that combined, I think, with the hospital environment and everything, it sort of cross-fertilized. And I thought, well, I started drawing some pictures of a human hibernation facility, which became the hibernaculum. And then I started doing, because I'm not a scientist either, I don't understand anything. But I started doing some research into this. And I realized that actually it's a lot, because when you think of human hibernation, you think of, interstellar space travel and so forth. But there's a big field of science now where they're trying to explore this for medical purposes, like for getting trauma victims into hibernation in order to do surgery, treatments for Alzheimer's. There's seems to be like a whole gamut of possibilities out there. So I started just exploring the idea, and it was kind of like a spool of wool just kept rolling out.
Yeah, it's an incredibly playful book, this one, as all of you are in different ways. I really liked the use of blog entries by Seth Macy in the book. And I thought that was a great idea anyway. But I spotted at the bottom of the page you put sometimes edited by, and I thought, oh, that's even cleverer. Because that way then he's showing how you're manipulating the viewpoint before you even start. Like they want to say something, but then they think, oh no, I can't share that, or better not share that. So do the editing on it. But yeah, tell us about then what made you want to use the use of articles throughout this book, and also the blogs as well.
Because the funny thing about it was that the main character is actually a process. It's the hibernation process itself. So a sort of a epistolary approach helped with that. And I wanted to try to get as many different text types as possible into it. Because I mean, today we've got so many different text types and so little to say.
Yeah.
I wanted in this book to try to reflect a little bit of the wide. I don't think there's ever been in the history of humankind such a wide variety of different types of text. So there's blog posts, there's newspaper articles, there's contracts, there's comments on sort of like, I suppose, like a tweet or something. And then at the end, even there's somebody trying to write on the inside of a parka jacket so I tried to get as many different types of text into it as possible.
Yeah, he certainly succeeded with this book in a really good way. And the last question I want to ask you about this book is obviously I want to try and get some hints off you of what your collection is going to be like with the press. But what caused the inspiration to start bringing poetry into the book on page 59?
Yeah, I love poetry, and I started off writing poetry. And poetry tends to end up in everything that I write somewhere along the line in some shape or form. And with hibernaculum, it was no different. There's a couple of things that always end up in everything I write: sharks, a little bit of poetry, uh, and some scientific article somewhere along the line. They seem to concept. Oh, and buildings. Everything I write has a building in it.
Brilliant, brilliant. Okay, yes, I've got to ask you, Anthony. Ellis's and Robert's books are out with the press already. Yours, I am presuming, is on the way, or is probably under construction still. So, can you give us the hints about what your book is going to be about?
Mine's finished, and it's scheduled for sometime in next year. We're not sure exactly when, but it should be sometime next year. It's actually a collection of three sections of narrative poems. Each has a character. I love writing character-based poetry. So each section is devoted to a different fictional character, and the poetry is very different depending on the character. But some of it, I like to experiment with rhyme. I know that's not very popular these days, but I use quite a bit of rhyme. Not sometimes in the same poem there will be rhyme and then other forms. So it's a mix of experimental poetry with more technical poetry. But it's all narrative. I don't like writing about myself in poetry. Um, Everything ends up coming out more filtered and narrative for some reason.
Yeah,
But
I understand. It's brilliant. Good luck with it, definitely. So, if your book's anything like your novel, which I've just read, I'm sure it's going to be eye-opening to put it nicely. So, good luck with it. So, Robert, I'll come back to you for the last question on this. Okay, this path anyway. Okay, Robert. Obviously, then, what is lined up next for the press?
For 2024, we have just published a new author, Morgan Galloway, who has a book about a mountain in Virginia. So the press will be promoting that and helping with the sales of the book. And then we will be producing and publishing 3 more books this year. And I'm hoping for another a big success for the authors this year. We had last year with Ellis's book, she was nominated for the National Book Award in Poetry, which was a big success for Ellis. And my book was a bestseller on Amazon this year for 6 weeks. So I'm hoping for another possibly award or sales for our upcoming book. Another one of my goals as a publicist for the event is to introduce the press to every continent on Earth, and I'm still working on trying to get Old Scratch Press introduced in Australia, South America, and Africa. So I'm hoping to have maybe a podcast in one of those continents also.
Good luck with it, definitely. So I'm sure you do well with it. So now, I don't know who wants to answer his last question anyway, but where are people best going to get hold of the books that are out? Any recommendations?
I'll go ahead, Anthony.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. All of the books are initially offered on Devil's Party Press for pre-order. That is usually 1 to 2 months before publication. And then they are primarily sold on Amazon. I'd say each author probably has done 2 or 3 in-person events where they have also done on-site sales.
Brilliant. And obviously, people wondering, you can pick it up all the usual places, and I'll put the website up as well. So that's all my questions, people. So thank you for part 1. I can't go down to everybody because we're going to go do some readings in a few moments. See you all in 2 shakes of the dice.